Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is the Behind the Steel Curtain co-editor, Dave Schofield, coming at you again, once again, as always, as I try to stall a little bit to make sure our live YouTubers are here. Join me, my big brother, Rich. Rich, how you doing tonight?
What's up? I couldn't give you the deep breathe of victory.
No.
So you got the what's up that
you
and I usually always exchange when we're not doing this show.
Bottom line is,
I almost want to
didn't the loss almost kind of feel like a win?
I never felt so positive about a Steeler loss I did the other day. Wasn't mad, wasn't upset. Steelers played well, had the opportunity to tie the game. The game ended up just how I said it would. I thought the Browns would win, the Steelers would have it close. Yeah.
Not only that, when the Browns had the ball before the Steelers got it to go down when they were down 8, that's what I said to Jeff. I said, they're going to stop them. They're going to get this ball back. They're going to march down the field and score. Jeff says, don't say it. I'm like, they're going to miss the 2-point conversion and everything. I tell you what, they almost got that onside kick. They didn't have to go onside kick there, but in a game like that, like I say, you're trying to win, but it's not the end. Obviously, it's not the end of the world if you don't win or else you don't play your players.
What that was when they didn't get the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
Tomlin still wanted to win.
Yeah,
but he didn't want overtime. He's
let's
like,
go get it.
We didn't tie it up there. Let's give if we're going to try to win it, let's try to win it right here.
Bold statement. I'm going to say it. I think you're going to agree with me. Here it is.
Okay.
If the Steelers would have been down 7 and not 8, they still go for 2.
Yeah, I think they probably would have gone.
I think they would have gone for 2. I don't think they were playing for overtime. Yeah,
I would agree. So
yeah. It's one of those games. It's kind of it's not a win, but it's you say there's no moral victories in the NFL. That's kind of one of those things.
That wasn't a moral victory even. But what that was is showed that we had a lot of backup players who were able to hang with a Cleveland Browns starting team that was playing for their playoff lives.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say one of the best defenders for the Browns was on the field in Denzel Ward. Not sure if he's going to be back or not. It's going to be close because it's not when you go on the COVID list. It's when your first positive test was. There's a possibility he's back when you look at the timing, but at the same time, just because it's 10 days doesn't mean they're allowed to come back right away. If they have symptoms, things like that, you've got to play it. Vince Williams didn't come back after
10 days after you stop showing symptoms.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I don't know the situation. I don't know if they know the situation or not, but it's funny because, we're going to talk about what happened last week. So we got to talk about the Browns. But then we also have to talk about what's going to happen this week. So we got to talk about
the
Browns. It's just how it is. So it's kind of, frankly, as soon as the Steelers came back and were making that close, and Mason Rudolph's throwing for over 300 yards, and the defense, who didn't look very good to start the game on that first drive, giving up that 47-yard touchdown, but then all of a sudden Alex Highsmith gets rolling. The defense is finding their own a little bit. They're playing better. The offense is doing their thing. I almost was like, it's okay if the Steelers, if they win the game, they knock the Browns out of the playoffs. Because Jeff wasn't sure. The way everything worked out, if the Browns would have lost to the Steelers, they'd have been out. And the Dolphins would have been in. And the Steelers would have been facing the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. That's who they would have faced. But frankly, when my goodness, the Buffalo Bills absolutely destroyed the Miami Dolphins. When you're talking 50s, Miami's defense was supposed to be good. They were back and forth with the Steelers of who had given up the fewest points on the season. and they give up 56 to the Bills. And I never looked to see who actually won that. Maybe someone in the live chat can tell us, because I didn't see if the Steelers were the number one defense in points against or not. But because, I mean, 24 is a fairly low total, and that's what they gave up Sunday. I don't know. The Ravens only gave up a couple. They were there close too. Back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Okay, so if the Steelers would have won that game and would have knocked the Browns out, beautiful. The Steelers losing that game, it means they get to play the Browns the next weekend. Beautiful. That's how I was feeling.
Yep.
Because the one thing what I wanted out of Sunday more than anything is, I'm like, if the Steelers are going to have to play the Browns, don't go out there with your backups and get absolutely annihilated and give this team confidence moving into the playoffs. Give them a good fight. And they gave a good fight. The Browns were, it depends on where you look, 9.5. I saw 9.5 to 10.5 point favorites. That's what they were on Sunday with the Steelers resting. And they won by 2. Now you're going back to Pittsburgh, add in Ben Roethlisberger, add in Marquise Pouncey, because Jeffrey was watching the film and said, boy, in case anyone didn't notice, J.C. Hassenauer did not have a very good game.
No, okay? He did not.
So you have that. Kevin Dotson sure did. So bringing back Roethlisberger, Pouncey, possibly Ebron, but if he is great, if not, it is what it is when it comes to COVID. On the defense, adding in TJ Watt, adding back Cam Hayward, now going against, I think if Michael Beck reported it properly, a former AAF lineman that he'll be going up against, since the number one lineman, the Pro Bowler, Joel, I always say his name wrong. Is it? I always say Botino. That's wrong. It's Batonio. I think I got it right. Batonio? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. The butcher of names. Yes. Going up against where he should be. And now the backup is on IR. Or the backup to the backup. Well, first the backup to the backup is on IR, because you got no Chris Hubbard, who they had moved down to guard because they were weak at guard. Then you had Harris, went on IR. So they're really hurting there. And Cam Hayward's going to get that matchup. And then there is the possibility of a Robert Spillane return this week, if you listen to Coach Tomlin's press conference today. Not definite, but it looks like hopefully tomorrow we'll see that the clock has started on both Spillane and possibly Filer. Now, Filer's an interesting story.
Interesting one, because I was going to say, you're talking about how great, Dotson played. If Filer comes back, does he go in the starting lineup, or do you keep him as depth?
I don't know. I might say that you say, well, we'll bring you back. We'll have you there in case we need you, but we don't want to push further injury. That wouldn't be terrible. They might start the clock on him and not actually activate him. Just because he comes back to practice, they have 21 days
to
actually bring him back. So they wouldn't have to activate him. Dotson's doing a nice job. Well, I'd like to see Dotson. Jeffrey keeps going on and on about how Pouncey plays better next to Dotson. When Dotson was at right guard, he played better with Dotson there than he did with DeCastro there. So some people are saying, put Filer back at right tackle. I don't know that you want to mess with that at this point of the season.
I don't know that you do either.
But I tell you, my goodness, if you have Matt Filer active but not starting, he is your backup for four
of the 5 spots. Yep.
4 of the 5 spots, in my opinion.
Yep.
And he could be your jumbo lineman if you're saying, hey, we're going to have you there, but let's be a little bit smarter with this. So good stuff. Some people play Filer at left tackle because Big Al has been struggling as of late. He's still, I'm pretty sure, I have to check it up, he still might be the highest graded lineman for the Steelers according to PFF, but that's how much you trust PFF is what that comes down to. So, Rich, anything more about this game from this past week before we get into the title of the show?
A couple things. Yeah, I will. A couple things about the game. First of all, Mason Rudolph sure throws a nice deep ball.
Did you notice they didn't even have him throwing it last year?
I know. And I kept wondering why. And I now wonder it even more after seeing the deep balls. He was like,
you don't have to throw them perfect.
When they weren't perfect, but when he missed, he just missed.
Well, and you need to just put the ball in a place where the receiver can make the play on it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to drop it in the window the size of your computer screen. You know what I'm saying? That you have some variance there for guys to make a play. A lot of people. It's I did. Did you listen to the post game show?
Yes, of course.
Where I pulled up the Michael Beck tweets that I had to retweet because they're like, and I'm like, at halftime I even said, well, I must say this was at halftime in case this tweet doesn't age well, because you never know what could happen. Right. But man, oh man, he's like, anyone who still has a problem with Mason Rudolph and how he's playing in this game is only because you've already decided how you feel about Mason Rudolph, and nothing that he does will change your mind. So for those of you saying Mason stinks in the live chat, that's because you decided that before Sunday. And you did not take into account what a season of not having to go in and play every week, but getting every Wednesday to practice with the first team and actually developing like he should have been able to do last year had Ben Roethlisberger not get hurt, and actually having a quarterbacks coach, which he hadn't had for the first 2 seasons, how all those things came together. I mean, heaven forbid a player actually improve, right?
His footwork was really good. He was doing a good job with his footwork, squaring his body to his throws. It was nice to see him get to throw the ball more than 6 or 7 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, still needs a better pocket presence. You know, when he got hit for that sack, he should have been able to feel that one coming right in his face.
Was that the one you were talking about where you were like, oh, both Chooks and the defender went to the ground? Yep. Chooks didn't go to the ground. I noted it on that play. No, Chooks hit his guy. The guy rolled out to the ground. Chooks turned back to the inside. I couldn't believe how quick that guy got on his feet.
Yeah. I thought I saw him drop to a knee, but
no,
that was based on I don't have the tape to go back and watch it.
Because no, he turned back in because DeCastro's guy was getting, because Chooks went wide and knocked this guy out. He turned back in because DeCastro was starting to get beat around the outside. So he went back in and hit that guy, and that guy from Cleveland was able to hop up and hit Mason. Yeah. But Mason, he's still got to get used to the clock in his head's got to at some point go off, and he's got to then look to either make a throw or move.
Yeah, but that was the only sack on the day,
I know.
And that was by one Olivier Vernon, who then had an Achilles injury later in the game, and he is out for the season, which is really unfortunate because he's a free agent. He's probably going to put him out for part of, if not all of next year, because of how late it happened. It's really a shame. Good player. It's kind of like a Bud Dupree thing too, At least Dupree should be back for the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
So that's someone the Browns are going to be down. We're going to talk about all these players that the Browns could possibly and everything be missing. We'll get to that eventually. But, I mean, was Rudolph perfect? No. But
no.
Thoughts on his interception?
The interception. Another one should have never happened.
Yeah.
Another one where I felt he just kind of held the ball.
Yeah. Well, it was 3rd and 8,
yeah.
3rd and 10. It was 3rd and long. And I think he was trying to get his receivers open. It was one of those times that, I remember because I was at Jeff's house saying, throw it. But even if he just threw it away, but they were going to be giving up the ball. He tried to make a play because when he went back to throw it, I thought possibly his arm was hit. It wasn't. They were just right on top of him. You know what I mean? And
he didn't. It didn't look like he was able to totally bring the ball back the way he really wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't expect him. Like I thought he would have more turnovers. I thought the Steelers would maybe get some takeaways. You know, I said that I thought the Steelers would have 3 turnovers and 2 takeaways. I thought they'd be -1. Well, they were -1, but they were they only had the 1 turnover. And I mean, tip your hat to Cleveland. They took care of the ball. But yeah, we'll get to that.
It was really nice in this game as well, seeing Juju, Deontay, and Claypool all putting up decent yardage.
Yep.
We weren't relying on just one. All 3 were getting up near that century mark. It was a little, we saw a few things that I thought were a little different from kind of what we'd all been seeing. So,
yeah, I saw a lot of good things. Like I just didn't want to see the Steelers come out flat. You know, they seemed a little bit flat to start, but that seems like that's been the Steelers every week. Now, there's some possibility of some fans in the stands this week. They don't know how many. They're waiting for an announcement from the governor's office. I've seen that there's been a lot of Steeler fans calling the governor's office, waiting for this announcement. There should be enough to at least have some friends and family in the stands, and possibly even some other fans. It might even be back to close to what it was when they had fans when they played the Browns the first time, and when they played the Bengals, and when they played who was the other one? The Eagles. It's all started with the Eagles. Okay. So that'll help. Some people were mentioning there that, yes, that interception should have been called back. Yep. Butch Williams has that in there. That it should have been called back for roughing the pass. Not for roughing the passer. Well, yeah, for roughing the passer.
Yes. Would have been
because it was when he got. I'm sorry, I was thinking of pass interference in my head when I started to say it. And
when they hit him in the head.
They hit him in the head.
They were saying on the broadcast, they went to, I don't remember who the official expert was there. I forget who we had, but they were like, "Yep, should have been called."
No, it wasn't. I don't know who it was, but
who it was,
absolutely, it should have been. And like they say, a more veteran quarterback, that's going to be a flag every time. It shouldn't matter who the quarterback is if that's going to be a call. I don't know,
but if that was a certain quarterback that used to play up north and now plays way down to the south, we'd have probably seen a player ejected. So
well, and here's something else with that. Yes, it should have been called back, and it should have been a Steelers first down. But that wasn't why he threw the interception.
No.
So I don't want to say that was why the interception was thrown. That's true. So, but I mean, like we said, the officials decided the Steelers need to take advantage of this. I mean, seriously, if the officials aren't going to call holding, then just hold. I mean, if the first, I'm pretty sure it was the first play after the onside kick. There was an egregious hold of a player flying through the line. I can't remember if it was Elliott or Denier or it was somebody like that. Somebody comes flying through and just got grabbed a hold of and drugged to the ground. And it's like, and there's like, nope, we're just going to let it go. So it was pretty bad, but we've learned to expect that. And I mean, I'm not going to.
There was a play earlier in the game where, oh my gosh, Mondo was being held so bad, like immediately. The guy went into a hole immediately because Mondo was starting to, was going to turn and get around him and continued to hold. I'm like, you know what? It's one thing if we're talking that, somebody's holding and then letting up or whatever, but I see too many that are just hold.
Yeah. And you're right. It was Mondo that was getting held.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting held a lot. But also something that you will learn with more experience in the NFL. If you're getting held, we could see that he was getting held. But you can even make it when you're held where you can make it even more visible. That would be something that would be good to see from some of these Steelers youngsters. But when it was that bad, it shouldn't have been. But I'm not going to sit here and complain and say the Steelers lost because of the officiating, because the officiating was bad both ways. But it was just bad officiating. Yeah. Now, what's so funny was Mason Rudolph throws that interception, gets, jacked in the head, no call. I have to ask, I only saw it because it was all over Twitter. Did you see the roughing the passer call on the 4th and goal in the Vikings Lions game?
No, I did not.
It was absolutely embarrassing. The Vikings, I'm only talking about this other game because it tells about how bad the officiating is. The Vikings were down at like the 1 yard line. They're going for it on 4th and goal. They're up 2 points. The Lions send a blitz. No one picks him up. It was a play action, and he just went right for Cousins the whole time. Cousin, after the play action, you know how you kind of curl over like you don't have the ball? While he's curled over, he just comes in, puts his shoulder into his side, and tackles him to the ground. And the head official, who I actually indirectly know, I know someone who knows him, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Who lives just outside of Baltimore. That's why I complain when he has to do Ravens games. Just flips out the flag and calls roughing the passer. Okay. If you compared those two plays and said, okay, one was called, one wasn't. Those were textbook plays to both be called the other way. The one in the Vikings game, it might have been one of the, it's one thing for it to happen and it not to get called because you miss it. It's another thing for absolutely nothing to happen. There was no other way that defender could have tackled the quarterback any better than what he did and any safer than what he did. And they still got flagged for it. Yeah. Like Steelers Pittsburgh said, Cousins even said it shouldn't be a flag. When the other team knows how bad the call is, that's a bad call. So,
to me, the inconsistency in officiating crews. Ready? Come on, NFL full-time officials.
Yeah. They have some, but not all.
Some.
Yeah. Well, even paying them full-time doesn't mean they're going to be any better. I'll be honest with you. You know what? I want more officials, but not on the field. I want officials calling plays from the booth. That's what I want. I've said this before. It's a crazy idea. I want 3 independent officials, not around each other, that look at a play. Not replay, but as it's happening. Maybe one replay or something. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how they do it. And if they all hit something that they agree that there should be a change in something, then the game stops and it happens. They all three have to independently agree. Like, oh my goodness, that's an egregious holding. Hold. Okay. Oh, that's an egregious. If all 3 of them hit it, that somebody else missed the call, then that means it's bad. That's too complex. I know it is. It's not realistic. But I'm just trying to think of anything that would be better than what we have now.
You're getting crazy. You're almost asking for this.
The Sky Cam starts throwing flags. What wasn't it? I'm trying to think. Wasn't it like in the movie The Running Man where the people on TV were voting for some of the things that were happening and stuff? That's kind of what we need with the NFL. Fan voting at home. Penalty, not a penalty.
Actually, what I'd like to see in terms of what you're saying, not to change the play on the field, but I think it should be. I think it would be great to use to grade officials.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what they do to grade officials. So
I don't know either, but if you had there, and you're seeing that you're getting 3 independent guys not sitting around each other saying a guy missed a call or made a call when he shouldn't have or whatever, that could be taken into account. There you go.
Everybody, instant replay Twitter polls. I like it.
Yeah. Jeez.
So, no, I don't know what the fix is. We just know that the officiating needs to be better. All right, so let's roll this back.
The officiating is inconsistent. That's my issue. As I always tell folks, I'm the baseball guy. Our dad was the baseball umpire. I can deal with any umpire's strike zone as long as it's consistent.
Oh, it's consistent. Yep.
You want to call the high strike? Fine. But
all right, Kyle. Kyle says someone hits the sky cam and gets ejected for bumping the sky cam.
That boy is rolling tonight.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So, anything from the Steelers' defense from this past week you want to bring up of note?
I thought we had a lot of reserves playing in there. I thought they really held their own. If I have one complaint, I have one complaint about one play for one player. And I thought that's the only thing bad I'm going to say.
Right?
Oh, and I hate to bring it up because I love the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was Mr. 100% of the snaps.
Okay.
That would be Minkah Fitzpatrick
on
the 47-yard touchdown run by Chubb.
Yeah, he kind of got juked out of being in the right position to make a tackle.
Yeah, really, he had to angle. I know he didn't want to risk injury or anything on this. He had the angle to just go ahead and let Chubb get 2 more yards and just come over and ride him out of bounds along the sideline. And instead he ended up, not looking very good.
Yeah. But someone here, I'll bring it up. Trey Young says, a safety trying to tackle running back isn't a good idea, especially a free safety. When your free safety is having to tackle your running back, you already know that that's a bad play for the defense.
That's why I thought the play was based on his angle. Get over there and just not hit the guy hard. Just keep him going the way he was going and just go, let him get a couple more yards and ride him out of bounds. Yep,
some good stuff. Yep. A lot of people are saying Edmonds would have been a big difference on that play, perhaps.
Eric, double HH. I don't want an injured Minkah for the playoffs. Neither do I.
Yep.
Neither do I, which is why I wasn't upset that he didn't go in and try to blow him up or anything like that. Again, I think he could have just had a minimal contact, ride him out of bounds. So
Minkah also saved the Steelers 4 points on the next drive or the next scoring drive?
Yes,
making that fantastic play. I mean,
he made 2 plays inside. He made 2 plays on goal-to-go plays in there. So
and as Jeffrey said, Minkah led the team in tackles. That's a problem, and it isn't Minkah's problem. So
did he lead the team in tackles? I thought Highsmith led the team in tackles.
Oh, I'm not sure. I know Jeffrey was doing the snap count article, so he's probably seeing some of that stuff. Speaking of Jeffrey, I got to say this before we end up the first half of the show. We've got a Vertex coming out tomorrow, and because it was, a bunch of the Steelers reserves, and it's a team they're getting ready to play, we're like, what do we want to do for this one? Okay. Oh, Jeffrey said for the season.
Gotcha.
Okay. That what we did was we broke down something about the Steelers receivers. And I brought this up. The Steelers receivers individually did not break records this year, with one exception. When you're looking at just rookies, Chase Claypool had the most receiving touchdowns of any rookie this season. And he also tied the Steelers franchise records for in receiving touchdowns by a rookie of 9, which was tied with Louis Lips from 1984. And he also tied the total touchdowns by a rookie of 11 with Lips from 84, because I think he had 2 return touchdowns, Lips did. And 11 by Franco Harris.
Louis Lips was the punt returner coming in.
Yep. So those were some individual things for Claypool, but those were some rookie records. What Jeffrey and I looked at is Steelers did something they had never done before in franchise history. 2 different things. You ready? 1, 3 receivers over 800 yards.
Yes.
3 players with 800 yards receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 players with at least
With
5
5
receiving touchdowns.
Yep.
So we were looking at that and how, as a group, they did so much rather than one individual going crazy. I broke down some of those stats. Jeffrey looks at the film about how you use one guy for a play to have another guy open, where bottom line is they got to choose what they're going to pick. And that's some of the things that the Steelers did great. So that one will be out tomorrow on the website. That's Steelers Vertex.
Sorry, so. I'm just baffled by what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
You just said they got to choose what they want to pick.
What they want to.
That's what you said.
Boy, I'm a wordsmith tonight, aren't I? Yeah, they have to choose which person they're going to try to defend.
Yeah,
and then.
I mean, you were sounding like a Mike Tomlin interview there for a minute. So.
Oh yeah, you got to choose what you're going to pick.
Yep.
So with that, we're gonna finish up part 1 because we want to talk about this coming week. We had some fun there talking about some things, overall officiating, kind of hit on some stuff that we kind of talked about the whole season, some good stuff. But hey, the Steelers are heading into Wild Card Weekend. They're hosting a game. They're playing the Browns. We're going to talk about that and why one thing you want to be beware of is beware of the wounded dog. So that's what we're going to get into in the second half. So if you're on the audio side, go ahead and click over. If you're here on YouTube or Facebook, hold on for a few seconds and we'll be right back. And we are back, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, with the second half of the Scho Bro Show. I am behind the steel curtain co-editor Dave Schofield. With me, as always, my beautiful big brother Rich. How you doing, Rich? Hey, you're a 10.
Beautiful.
You're a 10. They said it on the debut of Steelers touchdown of being alive on Saturday. Someone in the live chat said that the 2 Aussies, they were taken over as the eye candy of BTSC, and someone in the live chat said no. Big Bro Scho, he's a 10. He says,
I saw that.
And then they said that meant that I was an 11. That's what you know before it's serious.
They're grading on the scale to 100.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, me and Scales, they don't get along. Anyway, so let's we talked about last week. We talked about some of the stuff we liked. We talked about some things to be encouraged about. I mean, when the one player that you're saying, oh man, he had such a great game on defense, is a guy that's that needed to step up because he's filling in for Bud Dupree for the rest of the season, and Alex Highsmith. That's exciting, especially when now he's going to be coming back with Cam Hayward playing next to him. Who Cam Hayward, my goodness, how are they going to try to stop him without Batonio, if I said that right, out on the COVID list? If Cam's got a one-on-one matchup against anyone else, that's trouble. And if you're going to have to double team, other guys are going to be able to take advantage of that. I'm kind of liking the way things are playing out for the Steelers, that they seem like they're playing well. I feel like they got their confidence back even without having Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. They continued playing good football without some of their key pieces.
Yeah. And I mean, if the offense can gain confidence without Ben Roethlisberger, what is Ben Roethlisberger going to add? Because I know a lot of people like, it's on Ben. It's all about Ben. It really is. I mean, do you think Ben's going to go out there and stink it up while everyone else is still doing well? I don't think so. The line showed that they could give time to throw the ball downfield. The receiver showed they could catch the ball. I mean, I think I said this in the post game, and not to just some other random person who was talking to me Steelers. I can't remember. Did Ben Roethlisberger's confidence rise in his receivers just by watching that game and not even throwing them a pass?
Yeah.
I hope so.
It should have.
Yeah.
I liked what I was seeing, and he should have too.
Yeah. So, hey, Javier. Is that Javier Maury? Is that what say? What's Tomlin's record as home favorites in playoffs? I got to make sure I get your name. Because you know what? That might be That might have to be my Stat Geek question this week.
Yeah, that would be
that I could do that for Thursday morning Stat Geek if you listen to it on the audio side. That's something I'll have to look at as being I know under Tomlin, I know in the postseason in all, I think they're 5-3. I'm not sure that they have the best home record. We'll see. I'll have to look that up for you. That's good. So beware the wounded dog. For those of you that don't know, when you have, even if it could be your closest pet, if that animal was wounded, watch out. I kind of learned that the hard way years ago, where we had an old dog that unfortunately had gotten so old he didn't move from where he always liked to lay next to your vehicle, and I bumped him with my tire, and he was hurting, and I went over to help him out and try to get him, and it was not good. My thumbs paid the price of that one.
Put it this way. Dad had to come take the dog to the doctor, and your brother-in-law had to take you to the doctor.
Yes, I had to go get that taken care of, but later he still, I could tell by the look on his face, he felt so terrible. But that's what, I mean, for those of you that don't have any experience with animals, wild or tame, that's what happens when you have a wounded animal. And I'm sorry, the Cleveland Browns, what's his name, Big Brown? No. The Cleveland Browns are wounded. You have to admit they're wounded.
Yes.
That's a pretty big blow, losing your head coach. Not just your head coach, he calls your plays on offense.
And not just that, but he's your first-year head coach who has now led your team.
Was he first or second?
First year.
Is it first? I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
no, that's right.
Was
it was the Bengals that was their second year. Sorry.
Correct.
They're the same. They're Ohio team. They get them.
Yeah, I know. If you've been to one seat in Ohio, you've been to all of them, right? But your first year head coach that then gets your team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And now won't be there on Sunday.
And I'm going to admit, I feel bad for Joel. I keep forgetting how to say it. Botonio. I keep saying, I think it's like Antonio, but it's Botonio.
Just say the guard.
The guard. Their Pro Bowl guard. Because he is, I didn't realize this until after he went on the COVID list today, Tuesday. He's the longest tenured Cleveland Brown on that team. He's the guy that's been there the longest. He was there through 1-15 and 0-16, and finally, got the game ball after the Steelers game just because he's the guy they look to, the guy that's been through it the longest and finally overcame. And he's not going to get to play in the playoff game. And I feel bad for the guy, but I'm sorry. I'm thinking this is your only chance this year because the Steelers need to take care of business and send the Browns packing back to Cleveland. So, but Joe Hayden's not going to be available for the game unless his positive test was way before they put him on the list. I don't see that. That doesn't fit the timeline that he would be able to come back.
Right.
So to me, but they lost a wide receiver. Can't remember his name. I know he plays, but he's not a big one. You don't know who's coming back off the list. Someone like a Denzel Ward. I mean, in I don't say the entire, but the majority of their offensive coaching staff, they couldn't practice. Well, the facility was closed today, but today was not a practice day.
Yeah,
the report is the facility is going to be closed tomorrow.
Another question for the Browns.
Thank you.
Peoples-Jones went down in the game on that hit from Sean Davis.
Yeah.
With a concussion. Where's he going to be in the protocol?
That's what that'll be something to watch this week. Olivier Vernon out with the Achilles. I'll be honest, Wyatt Teller was not supposed to be back last week and had to come back because had to try to push it back and gut it out because they were so thin at guard. Is he even 100%? So they are. you kind of see why the Steelers rested some of their guys last week, because the Browns, between injury and COVID, they're not entering with their best team.
Right. And here's what I want the Steelers to do. Ignore all that.
Yeah. Who cares?
Ignore who's in, who's not. Forget about it. You are playing the playoff Cleveland Browns. Don't care who they send out there. We just have to take care of our own business.
Yeah.
We have to know the things that we want to try to do. We need to go out, execute, do those things, and everything will take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this is one of those games that's like the Steelers, you can't lose this one. You can't lose this one. You're the better team. Go out there and show it. I'm going to say it now because I don't think I'll use it Thursday night. And that the Steelers X factor on defense, because this would be a very Brian Anthony Davis answer, is Baker Mayfield's noggin. You can get inside that dude's head. You're going to don't give him confidence. Don't give him confidence. I mean, think about it. He got sacked 4 times. I mean, one of them was he fell down and got touched. But he got sacked 4 times.
Yeah, but he fell down and got touched because Highsmith was putting such pressure on from the outside. Yeah. And he slipped trying to get out of the way.
And now you have to worry about one Trent Jordan Watt. Poor Baker. Minka Fitzpatrick's back there. We're hoping Terrell Edmonds. Cam Sutton played a good game on Sunday on the outside. Justin Lane, I don't know if we were even allowed to mention his name. Not, thanks to Jeff Hartman. Not so much. So if you're talking about Nelson and Sutton, but what they were doing in sub package was putting Sutton back into his dime role in order to bring in someone else on the outside. Here's the question now. Do you want to have Sutton in that dime role, or Jeffrey's got to tell me I was out of it with a personal emergency today, so I didn't get to check anything on the website basically all day. How about Sean Davis? What was the breakdown of him from this past week? So I think Edmonds will be back, but is Davis someone you could use in sub-package football if you don't trust Lane on the outside, to where you could keep Sutton out there just for a week?
Right. They're going to they could have some options.
Yeah.
They would. So,
yeah. So I'm thinking the number one job is to, that's what happened the first time they played this season. Very first series, what happens? Minka baits Mayfield into a throw he shouldn't make and takes it to the house. That game was over from that point on.
Yep.
So Jeffrey says Davis wasn't great.
No, he was.
Yeah, he hit Peoples Jones pretty hard, but one play does not an entire game make. So not sure what they're going to do with that, but that's something to keep an eye on. If Spillane's back and into the mix, I don't know how much, if he's going to be a guy that goes out there 100% of the snaps. It's going to depend on practice this week. And what's interesting is they can come back to practice, but they won't show up on the injury report, Filer and Spillane. So we won't have a really good idea unless other people are reporting on what's going on. So,
yeah.
But I'm excited about this. There were some matchups I did not want to see with the Steelers in the first round. Like a lot of people said, whenever I put this out on our Friday night 6-pack of questions, that they didn't want to see a first round matchup with the Ravens, not because they feared losing to the Ravens, but because of how physical and brutal those matchups are that then you have to carry into the following week of the postseason. So,
yeah.
So I like this matchup. Honestly, I'd have been fine if it was the Dolphins, but that was going to be a little bit trickier game as well. But they're not even in the dance. I'm going to ask you one thing real quick before we try to sum up this game. What do you think about the NFL adding an extra team to each conference and a team with 10 wins still not making the playoffs?
Kyle and I have been sitting and talking about that. Here you are. We added 7 teams in each conference now in the playoffs, added an extra team. And in the AFC, you have a 10-win team that does not make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And in the NFC least, the NFC least, you've got a team that's under 500.
Yeah,
wins the division and makes the playoffs.
At least they didn't have double-digit losses, though, right? Went to 7-9. Is that what it was?
They were 7-9.
Yeah.
You got to feel for Miami in some ways. Yeah. I mean, you put up 10 wins and you go home.
And the Bears, what they got into the last spot? Were they 8-8? Someone just said in the live chat. I think that's right.
Yeah.
I was not, other than seeing that play about that bad call in the Vikings Lions game. I was not paying attention to the NFC. I don't know if anyone in the live chat or paid attention to it, but I worked my tail off on Sunday because I had the playoff generator going. Anytime there was a significant or a change in score, I was updating an article that was saying what the based on current scores, the matchups were in the playoffs. Now, once the Steelers were locked in to play the Browns, I only updated it a few times in the afternoon games just to show who would be in the postseason. But I was also doing the postgame show and things like that. But that ended up being – that was a lot of work. So I was really focused on AFC stuff. So what do you think of 6 games this weekend?
Crazy, because we've never, it's always just been 2-2, and now suddenly it's 3-3. It's like football all day, both days on the weekend.
Yeah,
it's going to be for a late Sunday night.
Yeah, that's the thing. Night games, and even on a Sunday. Here, Felicia said something.
I think for me, Monday's a work from home day.
Yeah. So Felicia raises her hand. That's why I called on her, because she raised her hand. Okay. And she says, do you think we got Sunday Night Football because of the history of the Browns making the playoffs? Plus historically, this event happened before, and they're playing this up. The last time the Browns made the playoffs, it was against the Steelers. Bottom line is they were looking for the – Bob Labriola explained this today on Steelers.com and answering his ask and answer section about the Steelers and their time slot. And it was that the prime spots – are the 4 o'clock and the 8 o'clock on Sunday. And they wanted to put some of the biggest draws. It's bottom line is the Steelers are a big draw. Yes, the Browns are back in the playoffs, so that's going to be a big draw as well. But here's a little fun fact for you. I was going to say this for Thursday, but I'm going to now. Okay. In the history of the NFL, there has only ever been one playoff game with a kickoff time of 8 p.m. or later on a Sunday.
Steelers Chiefs due to a snowstorm.
That is correct. I put that in my in one of my articles. Oh no, it was in the one announcing the time slot. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team to ever win an 8 p.m. or later kickoff on Sunday in the postseason of the NFL. They are undefeated. No one else has ever won a game. So keep that streak going. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, very, very interesting. Anything else you want to say about this? So I don't know if people really understood the whole wounded dog thing. Bottom line is the last thing this team can do, don't take this Browns team for granted, because the more players they possibly lose to COVID, the more coaches. I don't know. The coach being out there's one little thing's different. Is this team going to be desperate enough to do crazy stuff? Or is their young offensive coordinator who doesn't call plays, is he going to go ultra conservative, or is he going to go ultra all or nothing? What do you think?
I think it's a 50-50 shot one way or the other. I don't think he goes ultra conservative. I think they either stick to what they've been doing that's worked for him, or they pull out all the stops.
Well, and what I mean ultra conservatives, I mean, do you think he'll stick to what they've always done? Do you think being the last I checked, there were 6-point underdog going into Pittsburgh. Do you think he's like, did we take a chance? Do you think they fake a punt? Do you think they go for it on 4th and short at their own 40-yard line? Things of that nature, that maybe you might take a chance on doing when you're an underdog in the postseason? Or do you think
you
in those
get
big moments,
throwbacks on the punt?
Yeah.
Like we saw against Dallas, it's hard to tell what you could see from the Steelers, but could you see, a longer field goal attempt turn into a fake field goal attempt?
Yep.
Yeah, you got to be ready for all, you really need to be ready for all those things.
Cree asked exactly what I was thinking. Can the head coach be patched into a phone line?
Yeah, I have no idea if that's allowable or not.
I don't know if that's allowed or
I know it's not allowed. I know it's not allowed in Major League Baseball.
I know it's not allowed in high school, so because there was one time when the team I was coaching, we were playing a team whose coach was suspended for a game in the postseason because of using illegal equipment the week before. And a lot of people were pretty sure that he was up, not inside the stadium, but outside the stadium on where the school overlooked the field, probably letting people know what they should be doing. So who's to know if Stefanski will have that or not? I mean, what's any difference from looking at home and saying it than being up in the booth? But yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of that rule, but that's very interesting. I would say most likely not. So
yeah.
So Rich, we're getting down to it. We're getting down to the end to where how we always close up these shows. You give us a prediction. Everybody else gives their prediction. Before your prediction,
yes.
Last thoughts, last words on anything else with Steelers Browns before we get into prediction time.
I predict we're going to see some pretty good things out of our defense. It's going to hurt not having Joe Hayden, but a rested Cam Hayward and a rested TJ Watt are going to be huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A couple things I want to bring up real quick. Ryan Kellerman says, I'm pretty sure he's not allowed to have any contact after kickoff. I think that's correct. I just couldn't say it with certainty.
Right.
And Javier had another one. Says Boswell doesn't play. Could be a big issue. Boswell's another one you want to look at. But here's what's nice now that you're in the postseason. Guys that reverted back to the practice squad, they can call up. They don't have to. Now, you're still only allowed 2 unless it's for a COVID, unless people are on the COVID list. You're still only allowed 2. But like Matthew Wright, who had already had his 2 call up for the season, that's out the window now for the postseason. You can call guys up
and they can get back without. Yeah,
and then they can go back on. I think that was smart by the NFL. So they did that. He had 246 yarders.
246 yarders with room to spare. So he could hit a 50 to 52 yarder, I think. So
maybe. The only problem is you have to worry about when you move back a little bit. Once you hit that 50 range, you might have a 10-seat over kick, which yields in the accuracy. The thing I love about Matthew Wright is if you get to that range of where you're 45 and in, I think he is extremely accurate.
Yeah.
Gotta love that it's just going to go through. Don't like the idea of, and Coach Tomlin even mentions today, that you don't have the option to say, hey, I don't want them running anything back on the kickoff. Just put it into the end zone. Or even better, put it through the end zone. That's not an option with him on kickoffs.
Correct.
I think that could be more detrimental than anything else. But kickoff coverage, someone said it earlier, I don't remember who it was. Even if Ebron's back, you think they dress Gentry because of Coach Tomlin they asked a question about inside linebackers today. And he starts talking about Zach Gentry because he wanted to talk about the importance of special teams. Man, oh man, did that guy just want to get out there and play football?
Yeah, he did. And he was a beast there on special teams.
Yeah. So, yeah. One other quick question before the thing, because a lot of people were talking about it. Josh Dobbs. Helmet on Sunday? You're like, oh, man. Okay.
Likely not.
Yeah. Love the fact that Coach Tomlin is tinkering with the idea, especially with the media. You know why? One more thing for the Browns to have to prepare for.
Well, they'll sit down and take a close look at who do we want active for what reasons here, there, blah, blah, blah. They'll mess around. If they could tinker things around and make it happen, would they at least consider it? Yeah, because then if he's active, then they have to be not only be thinking about it, they got to think about it all game, even if Dobbs never steps on the field.
Yeah.
They've got to be ready for him to step on the field.
Do you think he gets it over Rudolph?
No,
not after the way Rudolph played before.
Correct.
You know? So I would like it if they had the room for it, but I'm the guy who projects the inactives. I'm the guy who does the article on the inactives. I do all the injury reports. We'll see more as the week goes. I don't think the Steelers have the injuries. I mean, if you're talking Dobbs, they're like, oh, well, then maybe it's like they're like Bob Labriola, who I read his article today. That's one of the few things I read today about. He said maybe in place of like an Anthony McFarland, who only runs the ball a couple times a game and doesn't play on special teams. That's what Dobbs would be doing. But there's a good chance McFarland doesn't get a helmet, even if Dobbs doesn't, because they've only been dressing 3 running backs. Why dress 4 running backs if you're not running the ball?
Right.
So, and some people are like, well, don't dress Samuels. Samuels brings a different dimension in the passing game that the other ones don't. That's why they go with him. And he does play special teams. Benny Snell plays special teams, things of that nature. I will tell you one thing that I would almost kind of like to see. Big boys want to push and shove on the sidelines. Set them both down.
Yeah.
Steelers have been carrying an extra defensive lineman all season. They usually only dress 5. They've been dressing 6 and sitting 1 because they have 7 on the team. There's definitely a chance that both Buggs and Davis could be down because you've got, you're saying, oh, but what about nose tackle? Well, in a pinch, you could always squeeze someone like Cam Hayward down there because Wormley's not really a nose. Mondo's not really a nose. That's how one of those other guys have been getting a helmet. But you could just roll with 5. Chances are they're not. It's going to be one of those guys. But very interesting. Some things to think about. I would like to – if there was a bunch of guys injured, they would say, hey, just give the helmet to Dobbs if you're not sure who else to give it to. But honestly, if you're trying to give one to Raider, if you're trying to give, you know what I'm saying? Right now, if there's not guys injured, it's going to be difficult to figure out who's not dressing. There's a good chance Antoine Brooks isn't going to get a helmet. So, very, very, very interesting. So, all right, we're nearing the end. I keep saying that we're going to do this, and I keep bringing up new ideas because the live chat is fantastic.
Let me give mine, and then you can get to them in the live chat. Okay. I've actually been putting a little more thought to this one the past 2 days, believe it or not.
Yep.
So mine is all set and ready to go.
Yep.
So my score prediction for the game, the return of some of our guys off of their bye week. Plays big, really helps the defense, also gets the key guys back on the offense. Steelers win relatively easily. Score Steelers 31, Cleveland 17.
All right, 31-17. Now, some people are already throwing those out there. I'm not going to bring them up.
Nope.
Got to wait till I bring it up.
Yep.
Okay? And hopefully you all just saw that come up in the live chat, that there it is, that I will now look at your scores. Yeah, so you'll have to type them again. That's the rules. You all should know it. You've been here long enough to know the rules. So Cree, he was on it. He was ready. He's saying 38-10.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. Just to give you a bit of a preview, which you'll get on the Steelers preview on Thursday. I don't know that the Steelers are going to go crazy scoring points, but I think they can do a good job of holding Cleveland, if you know what I mean. So
Yes.
Cree's got 38-10. Steelers Chicks 40. I messed that up. Steeler Chick 46 is 28-14 Steelers. Once again, if you just give a score, I'm going to assume it's Steelers unless you tell me otherwise. Okay. Cloud Blue 0. Steelers 29. Pups 19. Got to go with the 29. Chase Wilkinson 28-7. Bold prediction is Dobbs has a rushing TD. Did I say TV? TD. There we go.
It's a very bold prediction, seeing how he might not get a helmet.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. If he gets a helmet, I think he'll see the field. You don't get a guy a helmet to have him stand on the sideline with someone else standing on the sideline. So, yeah. John Austin, 35-17 Steelers. Okay. Little guy Kyle, 28-13.
Little guy Kyle.
Okay. Bibbity bobbity bacon Kyle. Maybe that's what we should say. AJ, Steelers 28, Browns 10. Trey Young, 38-13 Steelers. Raheem Hunt, Steelers 24-13. Javier says 31-21 Steelers. So Ezra has a comment. I didn't know if I got his score yet. Mark Tobin, 24-20 Steelers. Ooh, close one. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, I'll butcher his last name. 28-10 Steelers. Okay. Oop, it skipped on me. I got to get back up here to where we are.
There's the next one.
Okay, you got it. Donald.
Yep.
Steelers 27-16. Tyler, 31-13 and 7 sacks. That'd be nice. Ryan Kellerman, 30-24 Steelers. I could see a bunch of sacks in this game. Well, let's see. Okay. Brett Nye, is that what that is? I'll say that. Yep.
Sure.
42-10 Steelers. 42. Boy, that'd be something to see. Okay. Double HH, 33-13. Richard McKinney, 35-7. Steelers Pittsburgh, 30-10. Okay. GS 35-17. Greg Osborne 24-21 Steelers. Jeffrey throwing it out there. Browns 13, Steelers defense 14. He's not even seeing what the offense is getting. We'll have to wait and catch that. I think he gives a prediction tomorrow night. If not, you definitely get it in an article for Sunday.
Yes. But I like that. That's kind of his bold prediction, I'd say. Going there.
The defense will have as many more points than the Browns offense. Love it. Mm-hmm. Steelers fan 74, 27-13. Okay. I'm going to skip the next comment saying that he thinks it's crazy to have the Steelers scoring that many points. Scoring that many points is not crazy if you think the defense is going to come up with scores.
Score 14. Yeah.
If you're going to come to me, any score for the Steelers over, let's say 33, I think would have to include a defensive score. Maybe even over 30. I don't know what you all think. Okay. Cam Troy, 27-17. Justin, 40-17. Justin Crawford. Mike Z2, if I said that right, or Mike Z2. I don't know. 28-15 Steelers. Trey Young, Steelers 38-13. Okay. No One You Know, 21-13 Steelers. Okay. Mark Davidson, the Browns 13, Steel City 31. Hey, he's getting his yinzer going. He's getting it. It was nice to have those guys on last week. If you didn't check out their show last Saturday, it was great. You can still go back and watch that or listen to it on our audio platforms. Okay. Bill Davis, 1916 Steelers. Ooh, that's interesting. Solarverse 38-17. It skipped on me, so I got to go back and find it. You guys are pouring them out there. There we go. John Austin 35-17. GS is another one. He says, or 28-14 Steelers. Felicia. Hey, Felicia.
Hey, Felicia.
She says 24-17. Okay. I'm trying to get just the scores. Whoop.
Sorry. We both hit
the same time. Ezra, 28-13 Steelers. I'm going to wait for the Ravens. Cleveland Ravens. That's a good one. Okay. Hey, Tom. He says 28-14 Steelers. Okay.
28-14 Steelers.
Lazy Dog, 21-7 Steelers. Any help with the name there? Avanish
Raid.
Avanish? Okay. Avanish Raid. Okay, we'll say that. 27-24 Steelers. AJC, 27-13. Did we already get? No, this is a different one. Crazy Blue, 223, 27-3. I like that one. That one's getting closer to what kind of score I'm going to be predicting. Steelers Freak says Steelers rush for 100 yards and win 28-7. I'd like to see that. Okay. Yeah. 24-10, John Reynolds. James Beck, 30-17 Steelers. Looking now, people are commenting on the scores. I like that. Tyler gets his in there as 24-13. All these are ones I like. Brett, did we get Brett Johnston before? I don't know if we did. 38-10. Okay, I know when people put him in here twice, it's interesting, but you guys are doing good. Michael O'Malley, 28-16. Okay. 12-7 from Jack Squirty. Okay. Very interesting. And Grayson Brown, 28-24. Are we getting to the end of them? All right. Oh, here we go.
I got one here.
Dennis M. O'Leary Jr., 42-6. That's a good one. Okay. We had some good scores here. Here's the thing that's interesting. How'd the scores go down last week on our show? Do you remember? Did we get this one right above it?
Oh, no, we did not.
That was Steelers 28, Crappy Brown 17 from Michelle Ann McLaughlin. That's a good one.
Yep.
Do you remember about how the scores went last week? I remember.
Do you? Good. Then don't ask me because, I don't remember.
You don't remember. You can barely remember the real score from Sunday. It was split about 50-50.
That one, actually, the real score from Sunday I got because that game ended very close to how I had it predicted.
Yeah, the scores were about 50-50, and a lot of Steelers fans were picking the Steelers to cover but not win.
Yep.
Every single score tonight for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the Steeler Nation I'm talking about. We don't have any Browns fans coming in right now. They don't know what to think. Only winning by 2 points at home. Now got to go on the road, down their head coach. It's going to be tougher for that team. I mean, they went from 10-point favorites last week to 6-point underdogs this week. That's a big difference. The Steelers are more – they are favored more this game than they were in week 6 when they won 38-7. So, but don't take that for granted. Beware the wounded dog. They're going to bite with everything they got. And this Browns team has not been to the playoffs since – I almost got messed it up. It was 2003, right?
Sure. 2002.
Well, okay. You know what? I think it was the 2002 season. It was in January 2003. So that sounds good. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. Bottom line, don't take this team for granted in that way. I don't see the Steelers doing that.
I don't think so either.
I honestly think with those guys coming back, they might actually hit the ground running this week. Just wait till we get to my bold prediction on Thursday night. So,
oh goodness. Yeah,
here we go. With that, Steelers fans, get hyped, get pumped. The Steelers are in the playoffs for the first time in 3 seasons, 3 years, or however we say it. Let's get out there, get this done, and so we can come back next week with you taking in that deep breath that we always get accustomed to, the sweet smell of victory. So that way we can talk about the next matchup next week is what we want to be talking about. So
we want to be talking about, but first, we got to get to Sunday night.
First, we got to get to Sunday night. And that's what it all comes down to. So Steeler fans, get your towels ready. Hopefully someone will be in the stands, and make sure you're tuning in to watch that Steelers first playoff victory in quite some time. What do you have to say about that, Rich?
Can't wait.
See you all next week.